Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nasta'dihi wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfaruhu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Arsalahu bil huda wa dinil haqq liyudhhirahu ala din Kulihi wallahu karihal mushrikun. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. This way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. Amma ba'd, فَإِنَّ أَصْدَقَ الْحَدِيثِ كِتَابُ اللَّهِ وَأَوْطَاقَ الْأُورَى كَلِمَةُ التَّقْوَى وَخَيْرُ الْمِلَالِ مِلَّةُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَخَيْرُ السُّنَنِ سُنَّةُ مُحَمَّدٍ sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ashraful hadith dhikrullah wa asanu al-qasasi hadha al-Quran wa khayrul umuri awazzimuha wa shayrul umuri muqtatatuha wa asanu al-hadyu hadyu al-anbiya وأشرف الموت قتل الشهداء وأما الأمة دلالة بعد الهدى وخير الأعمال مع النفائق وخير الهادي مع الوفاق وشير الأمة أما الكام. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said the most truthful of discourses is Kitabullah, or the Book of Allah. The most trustworthy word is taqwa, or fear of Allah. The best of the communities is the community of Prophet Ibrahim. The best way of life is the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of all narrations is Quran. The best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. The worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. Best acts are the ones that yield benefits. Best guidance is that which people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah yahmadu bil-adl wal-ihsani wa ita'i dhil-qurba wa yanha anil-fashai wal-munkari wal-baghi ya'idakum la'alakum tadhakkarun. Allah commands justice, the doing of good, and liberality to kith and kin. He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. فَمَنْ يُرِيدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Those whom Allah in His plan willing to guide, He opens their breasts to Islam. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu wattaqullaha haqqa tuqatihi wa la tamutuna illa wa antum muslimun. O you believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and do not die except in a state of Islam. Wa atasimu bihablillahi jami'an wa la tafarraqu. And hold fast all together by the rope which Allah stretches out for you, and be not divided amongst yourselves, and remember with gratitude Allah's favor upon you. We read this ayat because it was two famous, you might well call them gangs, Aus and Khazraj in Al-Madinah. And they had fought each other for probably centuries. In fact, their recent escapade had been a 120-year warfare amongst each other. Then the Prophet ﷺ comes and Madinatul Nabi becomes the city of peace and tranquility and harmony between the believers. And the Yahud walked past the Masjid and looked through the window and saw the Muslims just having so much tranquility and harmony amongst each other, and this Yahud talked to them. You know what he talked to them about? He reminded, hey, don't you remember that guy? He's the one. His uncle killed your father. And that other guy, his grandfather killed your great-grandfather. And that guy, and pretty soon, everybody in the masjid started arguing with each other. The Prophet ﷺ came in and he said exactly what it was. Only a few words. This is Jahiliyyah. This is Jahiliyyah. So this statement that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes, وَأَتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. That means hold fast all together by the rope which Allah stretches out to you, and be not divided amongst yourself. It goes on to say, and don't you remember when you were a fractious group of people and Allah brought you together? This word, atasimu, comes from the word asama. And in the ancient Arabic sense, asama stood for, number one, the capital city. It stood for a fortress. And asama, in relation to the capital city, means that it's big, strong, unified, and solidified. So this word asama gives the context of your unity. You're holding together, all together, to the rope of Islam. The rope which Allah stretches out to the believers is Islam. The thing that we have to offer the American people today here in this world, which we live, is Islam. And we hope that from our center, we get back to that attitude. If you remember when we came into Islam, everybody wanted to do dawah and tabligh and invite people to Islam. The Yahud came in the media and all of its other brainwashing systems made the world feel that something is wrong with Muslims. Islam is bad. Islam is terrorism. Islam is fitna. And if you want a miserable life, become a Muslim, right? And remember about 10, 20 years ago, they was aimed directly at African Americans. Men and women through Sudan. Remember slavery in the Sudan about 20 years ago? Remember that? Slavery in the Sudan. And they had white folks going over there, supposedly going to liberate people and purchase people out of slavery. And then they had female genital mutilation. Remember that? All in the news. Now, you know, if you got an African American woman that enjoys sex and what have you, and she actually wants you to use your body, front and bottom, on her body. And you tell her that you're going to cut that little, just take a little bit, that part that gives the most pleasure, we're going to cut that out. How many sisters, African-American sisters, well, American sisters don't accept Islam. So they was aimed at me and you through slavery, because in slavery, we got it worse than anybody. The black man, isn't that right? So if you say they got slavery in the Sudan, that's going to turn you against Islam. We happen to take a group of preachers and other not knowing Muslims for a trip to Sudan. Some of y'all remember. And one of the big preachers over in Baltimore, when you visit the State House, right around down the Nile, one side is Jum'ah, and the other side is the actual, city of Khartoum, technically. And the White Nile and the Blue Nile meet there in Khartoum. But on this side, whichever way you're going down the Nile, on this side is the State House. And right next to it is the biggest church in Sudan. You know why the preacher was shocked? He said, why are all those people out there? I said, because they come from southern Sudan and they Christians and they, but I thought they was killing. I said, if they killing Christians up here, then the Christians that come up here are crazy. They're running away from the Christians down there, running up to the Muslims for peace and tranquility, and the biggest church in Sudan is next to the State House that is ran by, because Sudan calls itself an Islamic, African Islamic society, and you feel that way in Sudan. That's why you feel in Sudan. The sponsors of the program, we had drivers and everything, so we'd be right down the Nile. The brothers, they'd have their Quranic music. I said, well, what do you listen to? On a daily basis, they playing us Quran because they know we want to be supposed to. I said, what do y'all listen to? Shoot, he popped that glove compartment open and popped in them tapes. I said, man, take me to the record store to get me some of what they was listening to. You talking about, because see, they said, oh, that Sufi music, that Sudanese music is haram. In fact, to those fatheads in Saudi Arabia, all African music is haram. Right? I told them, y'all can go to wherever you want to go. You ain't controlling all that stuff y'all listening to. It's haram. And then I was over in Virginia there, and I went to the Sheikh's house, and I was walking up the way, and I could hear clang-a-lang-a-lang. I said, what is that? Oh, that's some Arabic cultural. I said, that's like listening to Coltrane or somebody. What you mean? You can listen to that. We can't listen to that. I said, hey man, I'm not going for your interpretation of Islam. In fact, you feel very comfortable in Sudan because there ain't nobody standing there whipping you with a whip, making you pray or do. You feel whatever you do, it's a comfortable society. I don't want to go off on the people of Darfur, but they always talk about all the fitna. Remember 10 years ago how much fitna in Darfur, this was going on. Remember all the demonstrations and all of that. And some of the meeting we had was with the people from Darfur. And in the Sudan, they want no more Quran per person than all the people in the rest of Sudan. Anyway, Atasimu bihablillahi jamiyan. Hold on all together by the rope which Allah stretches out to you, and be not divided. That's why we don't argue with people a lot. I mean, it'll run you crazy what the people say about our masjid. They're not on the sunnah over there. They this, that, and other. We do everything in this masjid except maybe we don't sacrifice little babies or something like that. You know, right here on this thing. Other than that, we do everything else. They talk about us like when I used to live in Africa, they used to talk about Idi Amin. Oh, they talked about him so bad. And you know why? That's the way people talk about us. That's why I look at the Jum'ah. We got 5, 10 people here. It's okay. It's all right with us. And we'll get to that later. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nasi ta'muruna bil ma'rufi wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. You are the best people evolved from mankind, enjoining what is right, forbidding what is wrong, and believing in Allah. Kuntum khayra. Kuntum, it means past. Remember kunta kente? These folks be hooked. Kunta, kind of like in the past. Technically, kente cloth, remember? Kunta kente was noble. That's what it's supposed to be. Noble cloth, kente cloth. You gotta watch out for these people. They be doing a lot of lying. Kuntum khayra ummatan ukhrijat lin-nasi. Ukhrijat is from kharaj. Kharaj is exit. Kharaj means to come out of. It also has a hint of evolution too. You are the best people brought out, lifted up, evolved out of whatever you was in. You evolved up out of that. And you became a Muslim and you enjoin the right and you forbid the wrong. That's what makes you the best people. Not your race, not your color, not any tribal affiliation. What makes you the best people is because you believe in Allah. And that you were evolved, brought up, lifted up out of that jahiliyyah or whatever that was that you was living in. Aqula kali hada wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khayril mursalin. Muhammadin an-Nabi al-Ummah. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. يقول الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Whether we shall show thee within our lifetime part of what we promised them, or take to ourselves thy soul before it is all accomplished, thy duty is to make the message reach them. It is our part to call them to account. See they not that we gradually reduce the land in their control from its outlying borders, where Allah commands there is none to put back his command, and he is swift in calling to account. Those before them that also devise plots, but in all things the master planning is Allah. He knoweth the doings of every soul, and soon will the unbelievers know who gets home in the end. This is, of course, beautiful ayat, and it gives us a lot of solace here in the United States, or in pure Kafiristan. Because it's telling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whether we shall show you within thy lifetime part of what we have promised him, or take to ourselves thy soul before it is all accomplished. Thy duty is to make the message reach them. It is our part to call them to account. وَعَلَيْنَا الْحَسِيبُ. On Allah is the accountant. Allah is al-Hasib. So it's telling you and I, don't sit around counting converts. Don't sit around counting the fitna that you have. Don't worry about the message. You have a responsibility to put out the message to the best of your ability. As far as your mind can conceive and believe in it, as far as your energy level, your age level, your intellectual level, do the best that you can. And enlightening people on the beauties of Islam. And don't hold back. And don't feel disappointed about numbers, times, places, and events. Because in the long run, Allah is in charge of all of that. And that's why He says that whether I show you in your lifetime what I've promised you, all of these statements that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make in Quran, don't worry about it. You teach openly and clearly. In several cases or places that this is mentioned in Quran. It's your duty to present the religion openly and clearly and in the best way possible, right? And then Allah says, I am al-Hasib. I'm the accountant. I'm going to take count of all of it. You don't have to take account for this. Right? You're not even responsible for keeping up with it. You are responsible for giving out the message. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was telling His messenger. See they not that we gradually reduce the land in their control from its outlying borders, where Allah commands, there is none to put back His command. And He is swift in calling to account. The word that they use here, atrafa, atrafiha, it means two major meanings. One meaning, it means the best of things. It means, don't you see how the best people in Jahiliyyah at that time are being brought over into Islam? Abu Bakr, Umar, radiallahu anhu. All of those people, Uthman, right? Abu Dhar, all of those wonderful people are being brought over to Islam. So it means the best of something, right? So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in this case. But then it also have the meaning of the outlying parts, the border and what have you. So Allah is saying, don't you see how we're reducing the land under which they control? Right? Not only are people coming, but the power, the strength, the ability, the rulership of the Quraysh is shrinking every day. Getting less and less, while Islam is growing more and more. Those before them did also devise plots, but all the things, the master planning is Allah's. He knoweth the doings of every soul, and soon will the unbelievers know in the end. There's another ayat that we like. It's, hence, leave me alone with such as give the lie to this tidings, that is the Quran. We shall bring them low, step by step, without their perceiving how it has come about. For behold, though I may give them rain for a while, my subtle scheme is exceedingly firm. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. Don't worry about these people, the big, powerful, so-called United States, right? Canada, France, England. By the way, all those people colonized. Some people got big by murdering, killing Muslims or human beings all over the world. Very few people talk about black people who built the country and Indians who they took the country from. How you gonna fail if you gonna make somebody else do all the work for you and you get free land? You know, one of the biggest things about colonization of America is that people in Europe who were serfs. Remember, in Europe, the landed gentry owned all the land and the poor people worked for them. They didn't own land by themselves, and they heard if you go to America, you're going to get free land. So all the Europeans came here because of homesteading, free land. All you got to do is kill off the Indians, and you got free land. And you take the best land. All over this great continent. You see what I mean? They don't talk about that much. But here's what Allah said. You, says, hence, leave me alone with such as give the lie to this title. That means those who are saying that this Quran is some haphazard mix of spookology, spirituality, and all kind of mixed up poetry. Right? And stuff like that. That's what they were saying. I said, don't worry about that. We shall bring them low, step by step. They're coming down. Step by step. Each step they think they're taking forward, they're not taking a step forward, they're going downhill. Without their perceiving how it has come about. They're not even going to be aware of how it's happening to them. They're going to be in a state of, how many of us got dope-free cousins, brothers, and sisters? What's the first thing they do? Denial, right? You said, man, you lost your car, you lost your home, you lost your job. You can't hardly go to the Father, man. You got to straighten up. You know what I mean? Maybe a treatment program. In fact, if you promise not to steal everything, you can come stay with me for a while. I mean, he don't steal everything you got. Of course, that's your brother, but he used that dope, right? What's he gonna tell you? Man, I ain't got no habit. Not me. Denial, isn't that right? Isn't that the first thing our people will tell you? I ain't got no habit, man. All my partners, they nod and lean. I ain't never seen nobody before heroin. You know them Pall Malls long cigarette. Can hold a cigarette standing up and let all the ash burn out. The ashes is 2 inches of ashes. Can you do that? No, you can't do it. You gotta move. But that heroin will have you'll be in space, right? And he'll tell you, I ain't got no habit. No. I get the weak niggas got a habit. I'm just chipping a little bit, you know what I mean? I said, where's your house? I don't need no house. Did you have a job? Didn't you have a pretty good job? I don't need to work. Who need to work? I said, what, don't your kids need? What kids? I said, the ones that you have. I thought you had 3 or 4 kids and a wife. They're going to have to look out for themselves. Because right now, I'm out trying to find myself. I got to find me. Right? Well, I can help anybody else. I got to help myself. Of course, this makes a lot of sense. If you don't want to feed all the kids and listen to your wife counsel you daily about your bad behavior, that's worse than being in jail. You mess it up and you got to listen to your wife or your girlfriend or your woman correct you, not 24 hours a day because you can't stay up that long, but just 16. And being right too, right? Countries are like that too. Countries. You tell America, hey man, y'all don't stank up with too good, homeboy, y'all headed down here. For social structure, y'all don't know whether you want to be boys or girls, everybody want to do this or that. You don't know what you want to do. No, that ain't nothing. So what about your big American economy? Made in America. Used to mean something. What about now? Oh, that ain't nothing. We're going to stimulate the economy. White folks call it OD. They say the economy is OD. They have, you ought to read, go on the internet. They have some very good social and political programs. And they talk about the economy now is getting ready to OD. Why? He said they had shot it so full of steroids and dope, you know what I mean? This stimulus, they shoot it full of this. Because, see, remember, since the 80s, America haven't produced anything, right? Remember all the good jobs, y'all don't remember that. Boy, we used to have good jobs. We used to go, you could pack your lunch bucket. People, y'all remember lunch bucket. They used to have this big, made kind of like a barn, like a mailbox out there. And you take your lunch, and you just sit in the lunchroom and laugh and talk. Then you could get overtime, time and a half. Then they could work you on Sunday, you get double time. Of course, me, they used to make fun of me. I was a company man. I took all the overtime. I did a 16-hour shift all week long. And the foreman come around and said, we got to get somebody else for the next shift from 11 to 7 shift. I said, I'll take that. He said, you can't take it. You can't work 24 hours a day. It's against the law. I was going to work 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever they had. You know, you're young and don't have no sense. That America does not exist anymore. And remember, since the 80s, every progress has been junk bonds. Y'all remember junk bonds? All phony, ain't nothing. Junk bonds and everything. Michael Bilkin, that it's all been on paper, right? Inflation, all that stuff, has been technology, not production. But you can't tell these people that. They say, no, man, we're going to get back together. Listen to the people talk on the old Don and the Miss Hillary. Boy, them people, if they believe that, they're in big trouble. So, Allah says, leave me alone with such as give life to this tiding. We shall bring them low, step by step, without their perceiving how it has come about. For behold, though I may give them rain for a while, my subtle scheme is exceedingly firm. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, because we always said, my goodness, the rich people got everything. They got good medical care. They can get away with anything. You know what I mean? You ever noticed the TV now? Since all the white folks, it's clear that all the white folks is the biggest heroin users, right? They don't even call it heroin now. They call it opiate or some other old name. You know what I mean? And everybody needs treatment. It's not a crime anymore. What is it? It's a sickness. They need medical care. Right? When the niggas was filling up the dope house, right? The crime gotta put them bums and mean old dope fiends away. But all the heroin users, not all, but the majority, all the poor white people, they get addicted from medicine. They have back pain. They get to use it. The white folks ain't got hooked off that. They got hooked off all them, what do they take, Ritalins and everything they can get their hands on, isn't that right? They buy, I know some of the little petty dealers, they sell these little pills. That's what they do. And then after a while, they get hooked on them pills. And now, let's go get some of the real thing, you know, straight out of the package, some good old-fashioned heroin. And I remember 20 years ago, I used to visit my partners back in Oakland. I said, man, all the customers is white folks. They said, yeah, man, this heroin, that was 20 years ago, it was on the road. But you can't tell America that, and if they do see it, they call it something else. We sit with clear signs and scriptures, and we have set down unto thee also the message, that thou may explain clearly to men what is sent for them, and that they may give thought. Do then those who devise evil plots feel secure that Allah will not cause the earth to swallow them up, or to seize, or that the wrath will not seize them from directions they perceive not? Again, they're going to be brought on down after the message is constantly coming. What's going to happen? And though they plot and scheme in the Congress, down in the city, they always got a brand new scheme, right? And the schemes do not work, because when you coming up, you're coming up. We used to have a saying in Jahiliyyah, the same people you meet on the way up, you're going to meet on the way down. Because that fast life particularly, you're going to have 4, 5, 10 years. But you ain't going to be up forever. And you're going to come down, maybe do a little time, come out and try to mess around, ease back up if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, with all your parole and everything, you're going to be going back and back and back, like most of our friends. If they started when they little kids, right, going in and out of them jails, they get out, sometimes they're out for a month or two and they go right back. Sometimes they get lucky, they stay out a year and they go back. You know, when I was at Leavenworth and McNeil Island, and even all on this end, in fact, I had the privilege of meeting in Atlanta. I was in the penitentiary, that federal joint in Florida. It was coming up, going back to California. So you come to Tallahassee, then you stop in Atlanta. In Atlanta, the bus going west, you meet that. And in Atlanta, I met a whole crew from Lawton, Cadillac, Chicken Reds, all of them Negroes. Y'all know they've got some kind of famous. Now, I've been in the pen a lot. This is the first time I met a crew fresh from Lawton, with all the Lawton smell, and they ain't got time to mix in the federal joint yet. They all on the bus together. I said, my God. And I got to Lompoc, but you know what? I've been in this city 29 years. I haven't seen nobody that I was in the penitentiary with in all that. Leavenworth, McNeil Island, Florida, it's the D.C., Memphis, it's D.C. brothers all over. I haven't seen none of the brothers that was in the penitentiary with me during the 70s. I haven't seen none of them. What happened to them? You know, like if you're from D.C., you're going to see some old friend. I've been here 20-something years, 26 years, I don't know how long, long time. And I haven't seen nobody that was in the penitentiary except Imam Masjid once over at Masjid Muhammad, who was in Leavenworth together. He was the Imam there. Other than that, where is everybody? Well, so-and-so got killed, somebody went back, said another. Do then those who devise evil plots feel secure that Allah will not cause the earth to swallow them up, or that the wrath will not seize them from directions they perceive not, or that he may not call them to account in the midst of their goings to and fro without a chance of frustrating him, or that he may not call them to account by the process of slow wastage. That's the title of the story. For thy Lord is indeed full of kindness and mercy. Slow wastage is when you start getting old, you start withering away. That's slow wastage. You don't just up and you old, right? You kind of creep up into it and ease up into it. And all of a sudden you look at your father, your mother, and when I was here and then I was going back to California, my sister told me, you know, our parents are old now. I mean, like old, you know, like almost 90 years. They're not, you know, and she had to remind me, they are old now. Because she saw more than I did, so she started to get around and all that. Hey, slow wastage. That's the feeling today about the society in which we live in. Slow wastage. The rise and fall of white folks got so much stuff. Forum Post. Brace yourself. The American Empire is over. What the white folks say. I mean, you can read it all day long. What else they say? Alert net. The decline and fall of the American Empire. That's part one. I didn't put part two, but I got part two too. Rise and fall of the American Empire. They talk about every system, whether an individual, whether an organization. There's four basic phases. Birth, things are born. Then growth or expansion. Right? Then decline and death. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us of this throughout the Quran. It reminds us also of the rise and fall of empires. That when Allah has written it for society, they're on the way up. But when Allah calls them to account, can nobody stop it. You cannot hasten it, nor can you slow it down. The point we want to make today is that we're living in an environmental situation where there's great transition going on in the world. We hope to maximize our position here in the United States of America. Because you and I, who were 45% Muslims before we came to America. You know, most of the Muslims come from West Africa, all that time, all that area. Most of us were Muslims. Or at least 45% of us were Muslims. Now, you got to wonder, what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have planned for us? That we're brought over here to America. Our language is taken from us. Our culture is taken from us. Our history is taken away from us. To the point that we don't know nothing about where we came from, except it was a dark continent. Unknown, mysterious, isn't that right? And of course, when I came up, you know, our people over there were still wearing grass skirts, and you never heard about any great empire, Mali, Songhai, Timbuktu, right? And they had taken Egypt out of Africa, isn't that right? You go back when you was younger, did you think Egypt was in Africa? Did you think Africans built the pyramids? No, Africans ain't did nothing but swung in trees. And Africans were so dumb that a white man, Johnny Wiseman, Olympic swimmer in 1931, could holler real loud. Remember that Tarzan? Oh! He was so smart that he could talk to animals, and the Negro has been there for 3 million years. Yeah, who knows? He don't know nothing about animals, about building nothing. That's what they told us. They had taken all those great civilizations out of Africa. And that they didn't exist. Then after suffering the slavery of America, we come back to Islam. We come back to Islam. Now, we let them dictate our language, we speak their language. Our culture, we have their culture. And we had their religion. And we had their values and norms. You're white, you're all right. If you're yellow, you're mellow. If you're brown, stick around. But if you're black, what? Anybody remember that? Get back. Yeah, of course, get back. Who wants to be around somebody black? Whether that's somebody brown or yellow around. And don't be white. I'm free white and 21. You ain't never heard nobody say I'm free black and 21. Police brutality. I did a thing on a foreign station. Actually on some of Rahbar's website, talking about, because they was asking me when I was overseas about police brutality. I said, police brutality? I said, what are you talking about? I said, during slavery, since we were property, they just whooped us to keep us in line. I said, after slavery and Jim Crow, if we wanted to vote, they'd scare you to death and they could burn you because you're not a slave anymore, you're not their property. And they still got plenty of Negroes anyway. I said, so during that long period of Jim Crow, they just lynched, burned people. One of the greatest years for lynching and burning was 1919. 1919, yes it was. One of our friends lived close to the place they did it, Mooresville, Indiana. Think about it, old 267, close to that. You think about what happened during that period. Think about the one you saw of the guy who's been burned up, he's on the cross, and that's 1919. 1918, 1917 and 18, we went overseas, right? 369, Harlem Hellcats, y'all don't remember that, do you? You could read history. The most decorated troops in World War I was black troops. They fought under French uniforms. Why? Because the Germans had whipped the French so bad that they had to bring a few of us black people from the French colonies, but they had American black troops over there digging graves. The French said, can we have those niggas? The Americans said, sure, you can have them. They took off those American uniforms. You look on the internet, see. You read it in the book. Those black troops fought harder and longer and the most decorated troops in World War I. So when they came back here, they came back with a new look at things. Now imagine we in deep Jim Crow South, 1917, 1918. You thought that song, How You Gonna Keep Them Down on the Farm After They Seen Paris, was for white boys. No, it had a little bit to do them. but it was niggas. How you want to keep them niggas down on the farm when they've seen Paris? So important about Paris. Why did all the black people in music and jazz, a lot of them went to Paris in the 30s? And why? Because white people in France loved American Negro because they pulled their stuff out of the fire. The Frenchmen was almost gone. The Germans wore their behind out. Yes, they did. They let them Negroes fight. I'm telling you. You look at that parade when they came back to New York. The Negroes was even marching in different style. Right? I'm telling you. Why was 1919 such a big year for hanging? Because we came back with a new pride and new feeling that we can do something. You know, World War II wasn't a whole lot better. Down in Dixie, they was hanging us in our uniform. Right? So we got everything from them. But they can't give us the Quran. And they can't translate it for us, isn't that right? So our new mission is the mission that we find in the Quran. And that new mission is clear. To invite the people of this society to Islam. The Quran and the Hadith does away with enmity and hatred, because in this it says that it may be, do not return evil for evil, but return good for evil. Then it may be between he and you who was enmity and hatred become a warm and fuzzy friend. How many more? Remember, how many warm, fuzzy friends? But only the people who are very fortunate, only the most fortunate people, right, are going to get that kind of luck, that kind of share. Then the other ayah we read the other day was clear. But the shaitan, the evil one, is ayah 36 now. You wouldn't read that before. Is going to come to you to try to do what they did in the very beginning. Bring you back to a mental state of jahiliyyah. To bring you back to, I hate white folks. White folks is crazy as black folks. They just as ignorant. White folks are just as ignorant. And now, white folks is just as poor as Negroes. You remember when we was growing up, we didn't have cars and all that stuff. White folks had it. But now, white folks, you see them down there with their mouth stuck all out, hungry as you. They ain't got no jobs for them either. 20 years ago, if you saw a white man begging, white people would not give him anything. Only people would give, think about it, when you saw people panhandling. Black people would give white folks stuff. But white people, you know why? Because they looked at them like, we built this country for ourselves, and you got access to everything, and you're out there begging. They look down on them. They don't look down on them now. Why? The process of slow wastage system is being brought down systematically through a process of slow wastage. I'm going to move toward a close. Not only do every society, every individual, every organization is born, grows and expands, declines and dies. But all the great empires had certain things in common. Number one, the pioneer stage. Pioneer stage. People are rugged during that day. They didn't come over here and they ain't brought nothing with them, so they gotta make it. You know, that's why an immigrant that comes here to America is different than you and I. You know why? He came over here to make it. He came in, he's single-minded. He ain't thinking about all this. You can see all the obstacles. He don't look at paying no attention to no obstacles because he came here to make it. He got people back home. He got to make it. He ain't got no money. So when he get a job, I don't care whether he's driving a cab, he going to sleep 5 or 10 of them in a room. It don't make no difference. Right? And 10 years later, you're going to be asking him for a job. Why? Because when you leave everything back home, and you go somewhere else, you got to make it. You're a pioneer. You're tough. You're smart. You see everybody else see all the obstacles. I'm black. I can't make it because they do. And you know every block that the white man has said. You do know it. It's true. You're not seeing anything incorrect. You know every low-down trick that they have pulled. But the immigrant don't see them all. He don't even know that's a block. He just go around it and he says, oh, here's a way. 10 blocks here and there's one way to make it. All he sees is one way to make it. We're the same way. You know, when we went to, you know, the white man run us off for a while and we was overseas. Do you know the African American overseas is different from us here? Two things very different. We always talk about standing up against the government. You know, like we tell immigrants, you ought to stand up with us against the government, stop trying to integrate and be with white folks. You ought to live around black people and stuff like that. That's what we say. You know, the only thing is, when we went overseas, you know, our governments were not kind to the people. You didn't see, we didn't get into no demonstrations against no government, but in Algeria, Tanzania, wherever we was. Why? Because we asked the government, please, can we get over here and stay here because the white man is coming. And the people that come here are getting away from their dictators over there. They didn't come here to help you. They come here to get away from the dictator and get some money. Right? Get a job, send money back home. To you, $300 a month ain't nothing. You can't do nothing with no $300. Not here in America. But $300 back home, whoever back home is, he'll take care of $100 for her family, $100. Then split the other 50, that's $150 a piece. You're gonna fix up for them to go to school, right? Put away a little something for, hey man, it's a lot of money. As I said, it's the situation, environmental circumstances. We have become our own worst enemy here. Yes, we're oppressed, but we done got used to oppression. We didn't accept it as a way of life. We accept, you know, we accept the authority of old Sam. You want to know why we always in the hot box? Because we do not accept his authority. Don't care whether he like it or not. F you, cracker. Not white person, but just the system. Anyway, we're going to move toward a close. So the pioneer stage. Conquest. In America, in the 1830s and 40s, they developed a concept called, if y'all remember, manifest destiny. Anybody remember that? Manifest destiny. That means America was destined to be a two-ocean power. Right? Atlantic all the way to the Pacific. So since that was their destiny, they felt, shoot, when Louisiana Purchase come up, they bought it from Napoleon. When it's time, when Abraham Lincoln, one of his nicknames was Spotty, because when he was in Congress, he used to go up on the hill and he used to say, show me the spot where Mexico attacked America. You know, at one time, Mexico was bigger than the United States. Do you know that they stole half of Mexico? All of California? Texas? Those are the biggest states, except for Alaska. In those days, Texas is like a country. California is like a country. You can go to the highest mountain, snow-capped mountain, to the desert, The hottest part of the country, Mojave Desert, Furnace Creek in California. Beautiful snow-capped mountains, one part. Central Valley and Death Valley. You know, Death Valley is in California. That's the lowest part of the country. Hot. Y'all don't know nothing about no 120, 125 degrees, do you? You know, I ain't never even heard of that. It's like an oven. However you feel like an oven is, that's what 125 degrees is. Anyway, pioneer stage, conquest stage, commerce, trade. Oh, we love everybody. We're big and powerful. Now, how about we have trade? So, America trades with the world. Next stage, affluence. After World War II, America, hey man, 70 years ago, America was it. World War II, not a bomb dropped on America. Everybody else is prostrated on their knees. Just think of those of us that grew up in the 50s. Boy, look at here. That was fun. You can get you an old car for $100 or so. Push that boy, get it started, get it started. You can fix everything yourself. Pretty soon you got yourself a car. You can go anywhere and get a job. They call it the golden 50s. And why is it golden 50s? Because it's still off of World War II. America is the sole power. The manufacturing hub of the world. Commerce. 5 is intellect. Intelligence. During that period, your psychology, sociology, business books, everything come from America. Everything made in America, right? That's a funny stage because if you think about the 80s, where is all innovation coming from? Japan. Remember that? Japan has slipped around and caught America. All the cars we drive come from Japan. The rest of them come from Germany. A couple of them even come from Korea, isn't that right? But hardly none of us drive no American clunker, right? All of a sudden, the biggest companies in the world go belly up. And along with going belly up, the American economy tanks. Why? It's a natural process. Intellect. After a while, 1980s, all the books on management, Japanese management. Y'all remember Japanese management? And now, since 2010 or so, where's all of your strategic management coming from? China. Right? China. Can't stop talking about China, isn't that right? Ain't nobody talking about America. Why? America is in number 6. Decades. Decline. The people, especially the rich, are a burden on the state. They talk about welfare to niggas. Niggas get a few dollars here and there. But them big companies, you remember what Trump said on the news thing? So, well, you lost $960-something million. So what? No big deal. Why? Because for 20 years he could write out any other losses. He could take all any other gain. He can make big money over here, almost $1 billion he lost. He can write that off in taxes. And what do you tell everybody? That's smart. You can't write off no taxes. In fact, they take your money before you even get it. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? They take your money before you even get it. Social Security and all that is taken out before you get your check. Right? Don't take it out of his. The rich become a burden on the society. 1%, all the progress in the last 15 years have went which way? Up, not down to me and you. I'll move toward a close. That means this great country, America, is finished. Now, strategic innovation. What are we going to do? As the world is changing, and I'll close with this. Do you think Allah just didn't like black people and sent us over here to work ourselves to death, then be humiliated and shot and lynched, and then after that put us all in jail? No. So our belief is this. And I'll close with this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed us to come over here to learn America, to be a part of the world and understand it. And then, at a certain period, call us back to Islam. But call us back to Islam with all the character, all the ethics. They sound like it, but of course, you know, we talk all this gangster talk, but the Quran talks about this love, this Jesus, nice stuff. That's what the Quran tells us to do, isn't it, right? Right out of the book. We have to call these people to Islam for their own good. They don't know what the heck to do. I'll definitely close with this. You just see the debates, stuff they had the other day. You might wonder, why would Donald Trump, right when he got a chance to make a good move, why would he say the worst thing that you could say at a presidential election? Why? Because that was his job all the time. We've talked about it a lot in our class. That this whole thing is arranged. It was a setup from the big get-go. Barney Sanders' job was you can't just put a crown on Miss Hillary's head. You gotta make it look like she had the stubble, isn't that right? So they have old Barney running around talking and so-called pushing her from center right to kind of left leaning. Oh, we want to help the kids. We want to help niggas too, right? And all of that. It's supposed to be Barney. And he talking pretty bad about the poor lady. Now, Don, there's something that happened. And the Republicans, now we aren't talking about it here, we talk about it in class, we talk about it a little bit. You know, with the war in Iran, when y'all may not remember the so-called hostage crisis, spy crisis. You remember the October surprise they talked about a little bit. That meant the Republicans urged the Iranians. Now what I'm going to say is I know some of it personally from being there and around all that. I didn't get the real smell of it till 1987, when McFarlane went over to Iran. McFarlane, Secretary of State, somebody. He took 2 pistols, 2 Colt 45s, and he took a cake as a president. But at the height of global fitna between Iran and America, right? How could he just fly over there? For what reason? It's because the October surprise. Ronald Reagan's administration, now don't forget Donald Trump talked bad about Ronald Reagan the other night. You got to be a tough gangster, boy, to be a Republican and talk bad about Reagan. Why you talk bad about Reagan? Because there's a group that hates Reagan. They hate the Republicans at that time because the October surprise. You hold the hostages, the spies, till after the election. That'll get me, Ronald Reagan, elected. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a chance. Y'all remember that? So 444 days, the Iranians, a crew of the Iranians, kept them all of that time. Reagan gets elected. You don't notice Reagan ever doing a whole lot to Iran. The other people did, but not what happened. Finally, they're helping Saddam so much in the war that the Iranians are ready to blow the whistle on the Americans. Because by 1987, that's the 7th year of the war, Iranians are losing hundreds of thousands of people. It's pretty bad. So America sent him over there to tell them, you take it easy, hold on a minute, and we're going to look out for you. But it's got to be big. If we don't blow the whistle on you Republicans, you got to hook us up. What happened after the 1988 war was over between Iran and Iraq? In 1991, the United States, along with its stooges, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, harassed Saddam Hussein. Remember, Saddam was fighting on their behalf against Iran. Saudi Arabia gave Saddam $50 billion. Kuwait gave it $33 billion. In Iraq, we had Egyptian pilots, Sudanese mercenaries, right? Jordanian regulars, everybody on one side fighting against Iran. How can they make up for it? I'm going to be brief. After the war, y'all remember April Gillespie? She's the ambassador to Iran. Saddam Hussein asked her on television if we were to, handle these guys. Kuwait is slant drilling, taking oil, and they telling me, pay them back the money that they gave me. And Saddam was kind of a thug. So he said, if I were to knock these boys over, what do they, everybody remembers that those days. We have nothing to do with inter-Arab conflicts. So when Saddam invaded Kuwait and Saddam invaded Saudi Arabia, why did he just stay there and keep on doing? Because he knew that America had promised him it's going to be all right. Right? The biggest shock in the world was when they whooped up on him. That ain't it. That ain't nothing. That was Republicans, George Bush, the first. Right? What's the next big invasion of Iraq? George Bush II. What does that do with the Middle East? That area. Hey man, they make Iran the leader of that part of the world without a scratch. They took out Saddam, the enemy, right? They made Saudi Arabia pay for it, right? And in the next go-round, they got whooped so bad, that's why the other night, Donald Trump said it. Listen to him, what he said. These people have given Iran a position of power, which they have. That's because of October surprise. So, who wants to get rid of these people? Them, the other white folks. So Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton is on the same team. What was his job? He's doing a good job. To destroy the Republican Party. Can you see it? It's destroyed. Democrats couldn't destroy it. It had to be done, and they got him at the right time. And Don is probably fret broke, you know, where he deal with money. They said, Don, we give you $2-3 billion if you pull us out, but you got to take a dive. It's just like a fight. Isn't it every time he get him on the ropes, he fall down? Right? He take a dive. On purpose. You're not that stupid. To say, I don't know if I'm going to accept the judgment of the people. Every dumb politician says, we have to accept the will of the American people. Isn't it right? You got to say it. You cannot say it. I don't know. I'll think about it. Keep you in suspense. Can't win, right? You're not that stupid. I'm telling you. Don't worry about their goings and comings. This is the last thing. Well, what does it have to do with us? What does it have to do with the decline of civilization? When a system starts to decline, just like when me and you, that's been using dope and everything, pretty soon we might have been engineered to be a fool, but pretty soon our habits are suicidal, isn't that right? Everything we do helps speed up our decline. So America, do they have any prestige around the world? Everybody's looking at the election. It's like a pie fight. Y'all remember Laurel and Hardy them and all them? Do y'all remember? I know that's a good way it's back. You remember Joey Brown, all the people, they throw pies at each other back in the 30s and the 20s? I used to just see it on old reruns by television. Pie fights. That's what isn't that what they do? Does it seem like a presidential election or a pie fight? It's a pie fight. It's a foolish fight. They ain't talking about nothing. That's what the thing is designed to do, but they designing their own suicide. They got more people paying attention. It's a wrestling match. That's what it is. I'll close with that. You know the wrestling? They had the people stand up all on the ring and dive on the people down, and they take chairs and they hit the people upside the head. That's what the American election is. It's a wrestling match, right? But they're help engineering their own downfall. Why? Because the key thing is respect. Respect is more important in some cases than money. Because if people respect the dollar, they'll save it. If they don't respect it, it loses value. See what I mean? Dear believers, with all that going on, let's straighten ourselves up, stiffen our back, and invite America to Islam. And tell the people the truth. All the American people, the black ones, the white ones, the Latinos, all of them, about the beauty of Islam. And eventually, you don't have to worry. I'm definitely going to close on this one. You don't have to worry whether they believe it or not. Right? Because pretty soon, if you tell them the truth, they're going to have to believe it. Because they're going to see it. This monster, I ain't gonna lie, I swore I wasn't going to say nothing else, I'm going to stop. O Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief.